Hi there, I'm Glenn Mitchell from the Freedom Formula Hypnotherapy Academy, and I'm talking today about how to create post-hypnotic suggestions that actually work for your client. And actually, it's a really, really simple process. It doesn't take a huge amount of work. It just takes listening. So a lot of people, when they look at how to construct a hypnotherapy session, they'll look at things like scripts of, written scripts of dealing with a similar or the same issue. And they'll look at different imagery and suggestions from those scripts. Now, number one, I just want to start by saying I don't have some sort of down on scripts. I'm not a fan of someone working directly from a script when they're working with a human being, because I feel your attention should be on the person you're working with. But I think that scripts play an important role. Number one, they give us fantastic ideas. Number two, they give us a chance to practice our flow. And number three, like anything, if you learn from a script and then apply it without the script around you and you adapt as you go, that can actually be really helpful. However, that still doesn't help you with creating suggestions that can predictably work for your clients. So how do we do that? So in order to construct your suggestions, what you want to do is find out what the client really wants. And obviously, you can just say to them, hey, what do you really want? But chances are they don't know the answer to that question. Chances are they can't just say, well, I really want to feel this way or that way. In fact, what you tend to find when working with hypnotherapy clients, I'd say probably more often than not, is they really find it hard to articulate what they want or need. The thing that they find it easier to articulate, though, is the problem itself. For example, I say to a client, how can I help you today? And they say, I just want to stop feeling anxious, or I've got a physical pain and it's driving me nuts and I want it to go away. And so that gives me an idea about what they don't want. Now, we want to explore what they don't want. We want to understand it in more than just, I have a pain or I feel anxious. We want to understand what is their experience of that. Now, one of the best ways to do this is by asking open, non-leading questions. So I'll give you the negative example first of all. Here's a closed leading question. How can I help you today? That's not the closed leading question. How can I help you today? I'm here because I have got a pain that I want to get rid of. Is the pain in your stomach? Now, that's a closed question because the answer can only really be yes or no, or it might be maybe if it's other places too, but it's a closed answer. But at the same time, it's also a leading question. I've suggested to the person where I think the pain might be. The open version of this, the open non-leading version would simply be, whereabouts is the pain? And again, it could be that the client says, it's in my elbow, it's in my stomach, it's in my back. They could say it's everywhere. They could say, I'm not sure, it's in a lot of places. And at that point, I may say, okay, let's run through parts of the body and you can tell me if it's there or not. But if I go straight in with the leading, is it in your stomach? And it turns out they got three different pains, then they might just say yes to the stomach because it's true, but we might miss vital information. This becomes even more important when you're dealing with things like, I feel anxious, because everybody's description of that will differ from each other. And different anxiety differs depending on the situation too. A person might say, I feel generally anxious. And I've suffered anxiety in the past. quite badly at one point. So I might use my experience and say, oh, when you're anxious, you get butterflies in the stomach and tingling in the ankles, and do you feel all weird? Now, they might identify with that stuff, but actually their experience might be totally different. And me asking these closed leading questions could lead them in a way that isn't best. If I say to them, can you describe your experience of feeling anxious to me? And we may need to open up on that a little bit more. But I'm asking them in an open way, can you describe your experience? Tell me what feeling anxious means to you. So these are all ways that I can ask the open question that allows the client to describe it in their own words. Now, once we've explored the issue, we still want to figure out what's the flip side of this. We now know what they don't want. They've described this anxious feeling or this feeling of pain. That's what they don't want. So now we need to find out what they do want. Now, I found one of the easiest ways to do this is that I explain this concept. And I say, okay, you've described really well the problem. So that's obviously what you don't want. You want less of that, or you want that to go away entirely. What would the opposite of that look like? Or what would the opposite of that feel like, depending on the language they've used as they talk to me? And then they may describe the opposite. Okay, well, if I'm not anxious, I feel calm, relaxed, happy, confident, in control. I'm probably making notes at this point because these are the things that I'm going to use for my suggestions, what they're telling me now. I may have to ask more open questions here. I may have to say things like, if your anxiety just evaporated, how would you feel? And I make a note of what they tell me. How would they feel? And the same thing, if this pain went away, what would change for you? So again, I'm not just saying, how do you feel or how do you want to feel? How would it look like practically in your life? What would change for you? What shifts do you believe would occur? And again, they might say, oh, I'm not sure. I said, what shifts would you like to occur? Let's get them almost fantasizing about what it feels like to feel different to what they've come with. And then from there, once they've given me their answers in their words, I want to match my suggestions to those words as closely as possible. And so also, I want to encourage the clients as much as possible to give me whole sentences to how they feel, or how they want to feel, should I say. So it allows me to give that to them as their suggestions during the hypnotherapy. And so I may take them through a hypnotic induction, ask them to close their eyes, get them relaxed and focused. I take them potentially through a deepener, which tends to use guided imagery to help just kind of let the outside world go and start to focus internally. And from there, I might continue the guided imagery and then use that to give the suggestions, either as direct suggestions in the words they've just given me, or I could also back that up with metaphorical suggestions or imagery using the guided imagery that we're already using. Then from there, we do the hypnotic emergence, bring them back, have a chat with them, see how they're doing now. So this is all not very basic in terms of the process, but it never really needs to get any more complicated than this when it comes to suggestion-based work, when it comes to that solution-focused work. It just really, the more we do this, the more polished and skilled we get at it. We ask better questions. We get better at adapting our questions based on the person we're talking to. We get better at using their own language in the suggestions that we give. But if you give a client suggestions in their own language based on what they genuinely want, there is a really strong chance that they will take on some of those suggestions. And that's what makes it so powerful. Sure, you can scattershot loads of suggestions based on the outcome that you're looking for, and they may or may not land. But just 2 or 3 suggestions in the client's own language, there's a very good chance they will land, a very good chance they will take it on board, And once they emerge from the hypnosis, a good chance that you will notice a difference in how they feel. So that's just a basic method for constructing post-hypnotic suggestions. It's not intended to be an entire therapy or how you run an entire hypnotherapy session. It's just another way to look at how you get your suggestions rather than just try to think about what's worked before. You're now thinking about the person in front of you. And that should always be the basis of any good therapy. So let me know your own experiences with this in the comments. Let me know any questions you have in the comments. And feel free to reach out to me anytime if you would like to discuss this. Thank you so very much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.